Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Triton Nation podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Gonzalez, Director of Athletics and Student Life at Pacifica Christian High School. This program is brought to you by the Pacific Athletic Network. We are grateful and excited to use Trilogy Financial's recording studio. We're grateful for them. I'm here with co-host Jeff Berokoff and head men's basketball coach at Vanguard University, Rhett Soliday. Rhett, thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're ready to get rolling. Really, so a little bit about this podcast. This is the first time Pacifica has kind of ventured out in this space for us, and our goal and our hope with this podcast is to make it very education-based, right? So much is going on in the high school sports world for youth. This place, we want it to be a place where families can foster conversations, where things like, what is it like to play during a pandemic? What's it like to be recruited during a pandemic? What is sports medicine? And what does it mean to be a good student athlete on social media? So that's kind of the hope, for this podcast. That's the hope for this program as we kind of move forward. But, Rhett, you're our first guest ever. So don't mess this up. No, I'm just kidding.
No pressure.
I think you'll be fine. But a little bit on Rhett. Rhett, you are a good friend of mine. You're, some may say you're a local basketball legend. Who knows, in Orange County.
Jeff Berokoff.
But, Rhett, you have a very impressive coaching and playing career for, our listeners and viewers maybe don't know that. But played at Concordia, right? Graduated from Concordia, and then you spent 4 years coaching there. Is that correct?
Did, yep. 4 years there.
And then moved on to Division I level at UCI?
Right.
So is this true that you helped them get to their first or second Big West Conference championship game, like ever?
I just, like Jeff and I both know in coaching, and you know this, coaching soccer, usually when things like that happen, it's because you got out of the way, and you had good players. So that was a fun time of my life getting that experience at the Division I level. Jeff had that as a player, and that was unique, and it's been fun. Now I played junior college, played at the NAI level, high level NAI and the GSAC, and then coached at that level and coached Division I, assistant coach, head coach. So having a lot of different experiences. It shows you how little you know. Yeah,
and now you've been the head coach and associate athletic director at Vanguard for about 11 years, right? And it seems like from what I know, you've done wonders there. And NAI national championship back in 2014, I think it was, coach of the year, national coach of the year, I may add, that same year. What is what's a memory there? 11 years somewhere. That's an impressive career at one place. What's one of your fondest moments?
Well, it's easy to point to. When you do have those special teams, you guys have both been on special teams, led special teams, but honestly, the best memories I have from those years as a coach is when you get to hang with those guys after they're done, after they graduate, and then your time is spent more as peers, as friends. I really value that. I mean, I know when guys come back to Pacifica that have played for you guys, that relationship changes, it shifts, and it becomes kind of a friendship. But along the way, I always say they're keeping score, so you're trying to win. As long as they're keeping score, we're trying to win. And so certainly there's some great memories of being in the trenches and everybody pursuing the same goal and all those things. Everything that sports is about, it's beautiful, and to get to do it with young people is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's fun. So tons of memories, more than I could recount. But obviously, when you win the last game of the season, that's always fun.
Always win your last game.
Sure is. Not many people can do that.
Yeah, so before we kind of jump into it, this is kind of for both of you guys, and I think Mariah's going to be able to pull this up later for us on our screen. But tell me a little bit about this picture right here. It's kind of pixelated, but I'm pretty sure that's.
Oh my gosh!
That's Rhett Soliday.
You found that.
Rhett mentioned getting out of the way. It's usually what happens when he guarded me. Just ole.
I can't believe you guys found that.
So I think one of you said I think Rhett might have a little bit more muscle tone in those arms.
No, we were just laughing about that earlier.
I think you were.
Most of the time when I closed out on Jeff and matched up with him, I usually felt a little inadequate because his arms always looked a little better than mine, and that remains true to this day.
Yeah.
But Jeff was a tank, though. He was a tough matchup. We literally matched up on each other in college, and that was my assignment.
Yeah,
try to chase Berokoff around.
I just think it's a fun little photo.
Well, you were a tough guard because you had a few inches on me and you could shoot the ball so well. I thought didn't you lead the GSAC in 3-point percentage your senior year?
Well,
I think you did.
I don't know that.
Or you're up there.
At one time I may have been in the lead, and then the arthritic hips might have taken over. I'm a double hip surgery guy, so it was after my sophomore year in college.
I tried to talk trash to you so much, and you never responded.
I remember, so a funny story. We don't want to get too sidetracked here, but my first year as an assistant coach, and we've never talked about this.
That's right, because I was a senior.
You were a senior the next year because we're the same age, but Jeff redshirted a year. And my first year as an assistant coach, our teams got into it, Cal Baptist and Concordia.
Right.
Like on the court.
Yeah, and there was a couple guys probably on our squad that were kind of being knuckleheads. May have been on CBU side as well, but
that makes sense. They're always that way.
We're shaking hands, and as we go through the handshake line, Jeff grabs my hand, and we shake hands, and he looks right at me with that look, and he said, "Rhett, are you serious?" Basically just calling us out like a couple of our guys were being knuckleheads. And he gave me that extra firm handshake. I've never forgotten that. We haven't talked about that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I could just see the Berokoff
look. Are you serious? Rhett, what is this?
I just remember you guys were
and
really
I said, sorry,
good.
Jeff.
I don't know. All I know, I always remember CBU being the best losing team in the GSAC. So I don't know if that was the case when you guys were there, but they always found a way to lose.
They were good. They were really good.
Well, blast from the past. So yeah, let's kind of jump into some of our topics today. I know Jeff, you being Pacifica's assistant AD head basketball coach, you have some great insight and some questions regarding just what it's like to recruit, and I'll let you kind of jump in on that one.
Yeah, Rhett, how are you guys dealing with high school kids? I mean, they can't play in for anybody live.
Yeah.
So is your inbox is just filled with videos from coaches? Are you live streaming stuff? What are you guys doing for the high school kids? And then after that question's answered, what's going to happen for those kids coming in the 21 class?
Right.
Because now all these freshmen in college, they're going to essentially be freshmen again. So kind of what happens there?
Man, it's a crazy time. Short answer, I don't know. I don't know how this is all going to play out, but everybody in the high school and college athletics landscape is talking about it, like what's going to happen, and just a byproduct of the COVID, world that we're in now. And so here's, I guess, one step further back, big picture. Everywhere except, and it's certainly going to affect the Division I levels, but also Division I passing for almost all sports now, immediate eligibility for transfers. So everything we do is a trickle down, right? There's a trickle down effect, and the trickle down is yet to be known and understood. But we know one thing is true: the transfer market is going to be crazy this year because of immediate eligibility. And we'll just talk basketball specifically, but it'll be true for a lot of sports. And because transfers, not just grad transfers, but other, undergrad transfers can be eligible immediately, there is going to be this interesting, forget if kids are going to get signed at the same rate or not coming out of high school. The hardest thing is going to be a wait, because if you're a low to mid-major program and you have a chance to get a 3-year guy or a 4-year guy that can come in and help your program immediately, those teams are, every year is a contract year for Division I coaches. And so those guys are going to be actively looking for who can help their team now so that we can win now. It's not about, as much as it should be about building for the future, they don't always feel they have the luxury to operate that way. And so because that's true, it's just a reality they live in, and guys are trying to keep their jobs. Yeah. The transfer market is going to be so saturated this year, I think, that it's going to delay. Even if some of these kids are going to get signed, they're going to have to be more patient to see what's going to happen. And for us, the trickle down is there is not, like the nature of our level is, if you break it down, it's who's left and who's transferring. Who's transferring. Jeff, you played at a high level at San Diego State, and you decided to make a change for a variety of reasons, right? It was right for you at that time. And so there's all kinds of kids out there that are looking at that too. Like, it's not necessarily about lateral transfers. It's about, where can I go to a place that's the right fit, that a person, I can grow, I can be developed as a person and as an athlete and all that stuff. And so now I think what's going to happen is we potentially are going to still be recruiting into July and August, in a way we never have before.
Going after maybe transfers or
maybe even freshmen, because you're going to get a couple things happening. One, there's going to be a pool of kids that are committed to waiting this thing out and seeing what's possible. Especially like if high school basketball happens in the spring, a lot of those kids are still going to choose to play their high school season out and then see what's possible.
Well, and we're even seeing some high schools now. I mean, we were talking about this, Jeff, earlier. There's some counties in California that are canceling their basketball seasons. They've already come out and said that. So it's like now with these kids, do they just keep waiting? Like, what happens to them? You know, it's
and that's the great debate for us right now in recruiting. Because like we get our league gets a lot of Division I transfers, good D2 transfers, stuff like that, and now the debate is, well, again, do you try to get old and get healthy now to win now, or do you try to wait and think like, okay, this year we actually at our level might be able to get some high school kids that ordinarily we would have never gotten because of the nature of what the transfer.
Because it's like a trickle-down effect. Like at the D1 level, those kids are either staying or they're transferring within, or that now, I mean, some athletes just outside of basketball now may have 2 or 3 more years of eligibility, right?
Yes.
If you're a spring sport athlete last year, and so then what you're saying is that's just kind of trickling down to now where those kids who may go to a mid-major or lower level D1 are now seeing what those options are.
And to your point, Jeff, about like the kids that are now have the option to come back, like we're still walking through that too. Like I don't have it figured out yet, because like a kid that's graduating that has the option to move on with his life or come back and pursue another degree, there's so many factors. I mean, think about back to when we were in that stage of life. We were like, okay, I'm graduating from college. Like, what's next? And the reality is most of us didn't know exactly what was next. Like, even if you knew, okay, I'm going to get my teaching credential, or I'm going to, like, you still didn't know what that meant for where you were going to be employed and what you were going to be doing. And so I think even more now, this generation, people talk about all the time, they don't want to know what's next until they get to that point, and then I'll figure it out, Yeah. And these guys, for me, they don't plan necessarily as much as they used to, and so I'm going to get through our season, and then we're going to sit down and we're going to have life conversations for our 2 seniors, like what is most important to you right now, and what does that mean for where you want to go and who you want to be, and then we'll make a decision if coming back to Vanguard is good for them, And both of our seniors, I would love to have back, but if it's not good for them, I'm going to tell them, you need to go. Like, you need to move on and get to the next stage of your life, and here's why. However, I don't think all coaches are going to operate that way either.
Yeah.
They may have a kid that, like a typical master's program is 2 years, right? Well, there's a lot of programs around the country that are going to want to bring back their all-conference senior with no intention of him seeing through getting his graduate degree. Like, let's get you half this degree done, use up your year of eligibility, and then decide after that if you want to continue on with the program.
Yeah, and you got to front the bill and figure it out.
Yeah, and I don't want to take a kid down that road where he's halfway done with a graduate degree he may not even want to get. It's like, let's make life decisions here. So I think the majority are gonna try to keep their elite seniors, and convince them that's the right thing to do. And I'm not convinced that's the right thing to do, Yeah.
It sounds like it's messy.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, though. I don't know.
Well, and then I guess to piggyback off that a little bit, how does that? So we talked a little bit about the landscape for those that are maybe looking to go to college or have goals or in college, but now like specifically to high school students, how are they being recruited right now? Is it purely just like Jeff said earlier, like inbox of videos? Are you guys? I mean, you hear there's AAU events in Arizona for basketball or club soccer in Nevada or whatnot. Are they just like live streaming everything and pushing that out, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so there is Arizona. For California, Arizona is the place right now. And it's kind of tough. It's sad, so I grew up in Washington, and so the mecca of youth sports right now there is Idaho. So it's kind of like neighboring. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the equivalent. Yeah. So I talk to my friends back home that are coaches, and they're taking their kids to, Idaho every weekend for tournaments and stuff like that. Same thing's happening now, California to Arizona. And the interesting thing is they're live streaming a lot of these events and stuff, but if any of us have ever done that, you can't, like, what do you do as a coach when you see video on a kid or even a scout? Like if you have an opportunity to live scout somebody,
you want to see him in person.
You want to see him in person. It has nothing to do with whether you can figure out all the sets they're running, and a lot of times on video you can even hear what they're yelling. This, the calls.
Yeah.
All right, I got their top 5 calls down for what they're going to be executing, and it's not about that. It's like being in the gym, feeling. You can feel so much when you're in a gym about, okay, I know we can attack that kid and go at him, because when things get tough, he doesn't really guard,
Yeah.
And you can see that when you're in a gym and you're scouting a team live. The same thing goes in recruiting. I want to really I want to be able to sit there and see when a kid runs back after getting subbed out of the game. When his coach is talking to him, is he looking away like this, and not trying to hear, or is he looking his coach in the eyes and receiving? I watch that. I watch that with Jeff's teams, and his kids run over, and they look him right in the eyes. If he has something to say, they receive it, they process it, because they've been taught that's the proper way to grow.
Yeah.
And I want to see if kids have been taught that, and if they haven't, I got to think twice about, is he going to be the right fit? And so I think that has made it difficult in the recruiting landscape. The more kids, all the kids we're recruiting, we've told them, be patient. We have a strong interest in you, and as soon as this thing clears up a little bit, we want you in our gym with our guys. And we want to see you hang with our guys.
Yeah.
So
It puts that emphasis back on, essentially like the character of a player, or the character even the programs they come from. There is so many more, and there's so many intangibles you can't see through a film, like shaking someone's hand, looking them in the eye, saying yes sir, being respectful, and the adversity that maybe comes from having a bad game, and how do they respond when they get pulled out. Those are moments you don't necessarily, you're right, you don't see over Baller TV or NFHS or Huddle or whatever it may be. And I think we were talking about this too. Like, didn't Nick Saban come out with a quote recently, like he wouldn't take transfers or something because they don't understand, that means they didn't overcome adversity or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm misquoting him on that one.
he's had a lot of
Saban, if you're
legendary
listening,
quotes.
don't come after me, please. Apologize on that one.
No, that's Saban for sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's that, we being at Pacifica, being a smaller school, right? We're young, we're new, we've been blessed with athletes. So we're only 220 students or so, and I think our collegiate bound athlete rate is close to 15% of our kids that have graduated, which isn't a whole lot total. But it's interesting because for us, and the conversations I've had with our parents, they're not the Division I bound athletes. They're the kids that just want to go and play at the next level, and they don't know how to do that because they've used high school sports so much as that platform to be noticed. If it's our boys volleyball team, and not the mainstream sports that I feel like everybody can really see very easily, right? You got the boys volleyball and the golf and those sports. So it's interesting to hear your perspective on kind of what that looks like, how those kids can still just kind of be patient and let the process play out a bit. What is Vanguard doing? More of an admin role over there. I was curious to know, what is Vanguard doing to continue to attract student athletes? Is it more so just every coach, or is there kind of like an overall, like, hey, here's who we're going to go get, here's how we're going to come out of this pandemic a step ahead to be the best teams in GSAC?
Yeah. Well, I think obviously for the constituency that's watching, especially parents of students at Pacifica and other people that may listen to this, the first thing that I think everybody needs to understand about, the 4-year transition is this: every school in the country, as a result of COVID, is going to have certain and specific budget issues and things that were not met this year. And the biggest reason is the biggest gap that universities are experiencing is in their student housing. So like in Orange County, for example, Orange County Health had certain restrictions on how many students, what percentage of the dorms could be occupied with students, right? In order to maintain more distancing, have quarantine rooms set up, and all these things to meet the county health guidelines. So like for Vanguard, and other schools, and it doesn't matter if it's a private school, a state school, every single school right now is experiencing kind of the pain of, even if their tuition dollars are still coming in, there's all these auxiliary services, with housing being the big one, and meals and stuff like that help kind of help keep the lights on for all these universities, and maintain budgets. And so, Vanguard's been blessed in that we haven't experienced, any staff reductions and things like that. The leadership has done an amazing job of continuing to move forward in the midst of this pandemic. And so But those losses in revenue for all these universities are going to really affect their bottom lines moving forward, even if they got through this year just fine. And so I say that just to say, big picture, what are these universities doing? What's Vanguard doing? The first thing we're doing, and that every school is going to have to do, is really make hard decisions about what they're going to do with every department on campus moving forward to make sure we're as efficient and fluid in adjusting as we can be. And so could that be some adjustments in our athletic department, big picture over the next 5 years in terms of scholarship aid and operating budgets and all those things? Yeah, we don't know yet, but there can be changes on the horizon that we don't even foresee right now, which could be in every program across the country, even Division I programs, with the exception of elite programs that are actually making money. And that's, I guess, where I was going. There's so few college programs that are actually creating external revenue from having a program like a Gonzaga or a Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else is in this mission field of saying, we believe in the value of athletics. We believe in what it does for our community. We believe in what the benefits it can bring to our students, to the camaraderie of our community, and all those things. And so we think it's important to have a basketball program or a football program or whatever, And so,
Are you saying Vanguard's starting football?
man, no, we did
heard it
walk
here
down
first.
that road.
You heard it here
first. Yeah.
We walked down that road. I was actually, at that time, I was in the athletic director's seat, and we did some research on it, and it is a great thing to start, very challenging, and you've got to really know you want it. And we decided at this time it wasn't the right time. But anyway, I say all that. I just kind of paint the picture of those challenges just to highlight the fact that, like, what are we doing at Vanguard? Number one, we are all being very conscious and mindful of the fact that we have to live sacrificially in order for the team to move forward, And so, like, if I've got budgeted dollars that the university's blessed our program with that don't need to be spent right now, I'm not going to spend them, If we can, as a group, decide to do whatever we can to help the bottom line, we're trying to do that. However, with one exception, not to hinder the student-athlete experience, And we have made a commitment that the student-athlete experience still needs to come first, even in a challenging time. And so you just have to do it different, though. So, all the stuff everybody's doing, we're Zooming with our guys, we're doing one-on-one check-ins, FaceTiming with them, and we're finding unique ways to maybe share a meal together when approved. Sometimes it's not approved, all those kind of things. And so those are little things we're doing within our program, but big picture, Vanguard has made hard decisions with great leadership, great intentionality, without affecting people, without affecting staff and things like that. But there are hard budget decisions when you're at 40% capacity in your dorms and things like that, and that's leadership, and that's the stuff that comes with hard decisions. Our president, our VPs have been incredible with that.
And you're only as strong as your people, so it's encouraging. And honestly, I think me and Jeff and Pacifica is so close with Vanguard, we knew how much you value your people.
Sure.
We've sent enough student athletes there, and even have a handful of your alumni and coach with us now, and we have some of our coaches who kind of coach there as well. It's a place that I've noticed not only values their people, but values their, you can value someone, but not maybe truly. You can value them as an employee, right? But then you can also value them as a person. And I think there's a distinct difference there. And I see that at Vanguard, and I hope people at Pacifica, Jeff and people that work in our department understand, like, yes, you're valued as an employee, but we value you as a person.
Absolutely.
First and foremost.
Absolutely. Well, and that's true when you see how your child, how my daughter is poured into, like, you don't receive that. The kids don't receive that at the level they receive it at Pacifica if that's not happening across every area of the institution. You don't pour into kids if you don't feel like you're being poured into. And our kids are being poured into. Like, you can see it. You can see it in their growth. And that's a testament of, like, big picture leadership values that are permeating the whole organization. And so I can see it.
Well, that's good. That's our hope.
Yeah.
Jeff, do
Before we sign off, we're heading to Super Bowl Sunday,
Oh, here we go.
and I want to see who you got. Does Tom Brady pull it off, or is a young gun? Do they get it done?
I heard something the other day. I think it was on ESPN. I forget who said it, but they said they tagged this Super Bowl the GOAT versus the kid. Did you guys hear that?
Uh-huh.
I saw that.
And then the quote was, what do you call a baby goat? And everybody's like, what? It's a kid, a baby goat. The name of a baby goat is a kid.
Right.
So they're calling Mahomes the kid, right? And so my thought is, if you got two goats, you got an old one and you got a young one that's up and coming. The young goat, the kid, is probably poised and ready to take the lantern. He's already done it, but I view this Super Bowl, as great as Tom Brady is. He's the greatest. I view it as a official, unofficial passing of the torch, and I think the Chiefs are going to get it done. However, this story that Brady and the Bucs are writing is like undeniable.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised. Nobody would be surprised, but I think the Chiefs are going to have the edge, and unfortunately do it on Tampa's home field. What do you got?
Tom Brady.
I see. I can't argue with that.
I just wonder if Brady win or lose, is he done after? You hear him talk about, I'm going to be playing until I'm 50. Do you think? I think if he loses it, he comes back. I think if he wins, he should hang it up.
He'll never stop playing.
Oh man!
Did you guys see that video of him and Drew Brees after?
How cool is that?
After the game,
around. Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
Those are two legends.
Sure
Did Drew Brees retire?
No.
He's still gone.
Yeah.
But Philip Rivers did.
Philip
boy.
Rivers is out.
He's out.
You said yours with so much more conviction than I did. It was like no hesitation.
Oh, with Tom Brady?
Tom Brady.
Right, come on, man. Jeez.
Man.
He's got two more in him. Oh, yeah. Tom, two more. We got this.
All right.
Yeah.
Side bet after the show.
We'll have you back next time when it's all done, and we'll revisit that conversation. Well, Rhett, thanks, man, for being here, talking a little bit about your story and what Vanguard's doing, all the good work there. Everyone listening, please check us out on social media, our Instagram, pacificathletics.org, Twitter, Facebook, and that was our website, pacificathletics.org. But yes, thank you guys for listening. Go Tritons. See you next time.